Hi, I'm Dan Costa here with Jamie Lendino at PC Mag for an analyst view of Apple's 2014 WWDC conference. The keynote just got over with. They took about an hour, a little over an hour, to provide all the details on Yosemite, iOS 8. We are going to give you everything you need to know in 10 minutes, give or take 30 minutes.
Something like that.
So let's start off with the big news. Yosemite, the next round of the Mac OS. It's going to be available for free. It's going to be available in the fall, but developers are getting their hands on it right now. Not a huge change, but a lot of little changes worked into the OS.
Yeah, it's definitely a refinement of what they already brought to Mavericks. They're still not doing anything like Microsoft, where they're bringing anything with a touchscreen. It's still what makes the Mac a Mac is still
It's
there.
weird that they're not going to copy Microsoft.
Yeah, isn't that strange?
It's so strange that they don't want to rip off Windows 8. There's nothing in Windows 8 they really want to incorporate in their OS.
Well, one of the continuing odd things I find about this is how they've diverged so much over the last couple of years. They used to kind of one would copy a little bit from the other, and it would be a little bit about the same, and now the interfaces are just so wildly different.
So I'm not a Mac user. I use a Windows machine primarily. When I looked at the interface, I looked at the docking bar, it looked pretty similar. Like nothing jumped out at me as like a big change.
Yeah, they've already gone this way a little bit with the notification bar. They're doing the flat look now, so it looks like iOS 7. But a lot of the core interface elements are still there. It's just a more polished look, a little more translucent interface elements. But yeah, it's still largely staying the course.
One of the things that I found really interesting was the way Spotlight worked. It seems like they put a lot of effort into making things easier to find, enhancing Spotlight, making it more useful, so it's going to be able to search across pretty much everything on your computer, everything online, and then provide some context to the things that you've written emails about, the people you contact often. I mean, that seems like a pretty killer feature.
It is, and it's also reflecting this move away from local storage to the cloud, either iCloud or to things you find online, or to like iTunes Match, where your music's stored in the cloud somewhere. What's on your computer locally is becoming less and less important, and I think this kind of reflects that.
Yeah, and it just totally blurs the line. Like when you're sitting at your desktop and you're searching, you don't know whether it's local, whether it's in the cloud, and you probably don't care. They just want to deliver you the information that you want.
Yeah, that's the idea behind it. The same way in Gmail, if you just type something, your email appears. You don't really have to necessarily give it labels or tags. You can if you want to help categorize things, but you don't have to. It is kind of the same idea. Just ask for it, and there it is, no matter where it's stored.
Likewise, they cleaned up Safari, their browser. They're going to come up with some changes for that, where basically it looks like there's almost no navigation elements in Safari anymore. All the navigation is sort of built into that top window and then drops down when you need it.
Right, that's kind of your computer now if you think about it. It's pretty much a glorified browser for a lot of people, so why not make it as transparent as possible? And some of the stuff about power, too, is interesting, that Safari is going to be able to last a couple hours longer streaming Netflix, which I thought was fascinating.
I like that they're optimizing the OS for real-life usage patterns, and optimizing the browser specifically. They cite the Netflix example. If you're streaming HD video, you'll get 2 hours extra battery life just because of the way they've optimized the browser.
Right. I mean, they're focusing on things people are doing. People are using Netflix, they're using Facebook, they're using Twitter. They can push their own services like Apple Genius and Ping, and they don't really work as well for them. So.
That's the thing. Like all these, they start going through the search menus, even in Safari and even in the OS through Spotlight, and you're serving up all these answers. You're pulling in Wikipedia answers. You're offering suggestions, map locations. None of it seemed to be going out to the web. I didn't see any banner ads on any of those web experiences. Right. It's all pulling the information in and making it more of a pure, non-ad oriented search.
You can see a little bit of that now also with Google. If you run a Google search, you'll see the Wikipedia page kind of highlighted, or at least pulling text from it. Mm-hmm. This is kind of the same idea. It's like it's just, instead of going out to the web, it's actually saying, here's everything, and here's it in our presentation, as opposed to what the web is presenting it as.
So the coolest package of features, and it sort of runs across Yosemite and iOS 8, is this concept of continuity. Yes. And there's a bunch of cool features built into there, and that is something that I really have not seen any analog to, either on Android or on Windows.
Not to that level. I mean, the idea originally of moving to the cloud is that you can access your stuff everywhere, but as you see in real life, that doesn't necessarily pan out the way it is.
Right.
So there's definitely more of an emphasis on, you drop this device, you pick this one up, and you can pick up right where you left off. You have media logged in that you bought under one account, and then your wife wants to use it on another account, and now you can share the account. You're definitely seeing more of this. The ideal was that we'd all be able to do that, and reality wasn't quite so much that, and now Apple's really pushing to make that happen.
Yeah. So one of these continuity features, you can start typing an email on your phone, stop midway through, go to your MacBook, open up your Mail app, and it will recognize that you were it'll recognize that you were typing on your phone. It'll pull in that message. You can finish it on your Mac. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, especially since, you see some people like to use the iPad to search through their email, but then when they start typing it, they're like, do I want to type it on the screen or I want to type it on the computer? This is bigger and more involved than I thought. Now I can go sit down at the computer without having to save it to drafts and forget about it and close the window and come over here and open it again.
Yeah, so all of your iOS devices will know that they are in proximity to one another. They'll be able to communicate with one another passively. You're not going to have to pair them or connect them. But another one of the really cool things is that you'll be able to take voice phone calls on your Mac. So you get phone calls on your phone, it will notify you on your Mac, and then allow you to answer the phone call on your Macintosh and actually have the conversation on your Mac.
It's almost as if Skype never existed.
Yeah. I mean, just leaping past Skype and totally creating this unified, really, truly unified messaging experience.
It's the kind of thing you usually have to go to a company to install for you on your desk and to have an enterprise environment. So to be able to, you can just do that with your home devices is pretty cool in and of itself.
And it just blends this, because everybody has their personal phone on their desk and then they take work phone calls on their work phone, but to actually answer the phone calls on your Mac is pretty awesome.
Sure.
And I have not seen anything like that. They're also going to sync up how the Wi-Fi networking works so that you can instantly create a hotspot without configuring the Wi-Fi. I mean, just a lot of computer-phone interaction.
Well, it's pretty clear that they spend a lot of time thinking about what people are actually doing. And they also, because they tend to stay the course and do these evolutionary improvements, they can build on successes from the last year and the year before. They can de-emphasize features that didn't work as well, and they can just continue to iterate like this. And it's just, I mean, the consistency to me is mind-blowing, how many years they've been building on the OS, culminating in Yosemite.
Yeah, and the notifications, they've improved the notifications on iOS 8. They're also adding those same notifications to the Mac OS. So it's really like one notification system, and a phone call is really just plays on that. You get a phone call in, you get a notification for that.
Right. They made a big deal about the notifications last time around with Mac OS, and I ended up not using it because it only worked for iMessage and the blue bubbles, which were from other iMessage users, and it didn't do phone calls. So it was kind of piecemeal how it was handling it. So this looks a lot more cohesive. So assuming it actually works in practice, I can see myself using this the way I wasn't using the other one.
Because it'll pull in SMS, which it didn't do before. It didn't
do SMS, it just did iMessage.
So now it pulls in SMS, it'll do phone calls, and work across all of your Mac devices.
Right.
So pretty impressive stuff. Spotlight suggestions, we talked a little bit of AirDrop works on both iOS and Mac. I guess that's a new improvement. I don't use AirDrop.
Yeah, I don't really use that so much either.
But maybe you will now that it's got all these different functionalities. The QuickType. You want to talk about QuickType? Because they made a big deal about being able to type faster and improving the autocorrect and auto suggestions built into their keyboard.
Well, we've seen some of this already. We've seen this on Android devices and on Windows Phone devices. They're trying to predict the words that you would actually use. They actually claimed to do that before. Now they're claiming to do that again better, just in a different visual now. It's going to show you the multiple suggestions as you're typing. And it's supposed to be context sensitive.
Yeah, it's supposed to literally remember every word that you've ever typed and then start offering you those words. You use awesome a lot. Awesome will come up as one of the pre-selected options when you type AW. I mean, it'd be great if it works. Again, the developer preview is launching now. We're going to have to get it into the lab and test it.
Yeah, I mean, I think some people were still hoping for an ability to do like a swipe keyboard, but we may see that down the road from some of the app extensions they were talking about also. We'll see.
So one of the things that they were very much anticipated, we broke over the weekend, there were rumors about home integration, and they did release something called HomeKit, which is basically a platform for connected home devices.
Right, you're seeing a lot of manufacturers like Philips and Honeywell and Staples of all companies. They're all pushing into this idea, but again, they're all kind of islands. Some may have an iOS app, but they don't talk to each other. And that, and also the fitness, the same thing. We're seeing Apple trying to say, okay, you've got all these islands of information, you've got all these islands of control for your home, you've got all these things. How can we kind of integrate this all into one place that actually is going to work at the OS level?
Mm-hmm. And that's right, you brought up fitness. I mean, the HealthKit, sort of the HomeKit analog, where they want to be the clearinghouse and the platform that all of these health tracker apps can be built on, that they'll keep it secure, they'll keep your information secure, but they want to be the foundation and then share that information with other apps, other devices, however the user sees fit.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it in all of our the fitness gadget testing and our reviews that a lot of the different vendors claim to offer a complete picture of your health. And the thing is, everyone has a slightly different idea of that. So now Apple's saying, okay, how can we integrate this in a way that also the Mayo Clinic is going to be a tie-in? How can we really make it a complete picture? This way, if you're a runner, but you also check your glucose level, or it'll all be in one spot, which I would love to see work. I don't know.
It's a long way. It also raises a lot of privacy questions, and that's the thing. They're building functionality, and they're promising privacy, but until you actually build the apps...
Everyone promises privacy.
And so does Facebook. Facebook promises privacy, and they've got controls, but nobody uses them.
Right.
I think what the presets are and how it actually works is going to say a lot about what the company's priorities are and how comfortable people are using it.
Well, that's where Facebook always falls down, right? Like, they always say they have these privacy controls, but yet somehow they're always turned off by default, over the years.
Yeah. Tricky that. Yeah. So it's like the opposite of privacy, family sharing. Big focus on, and this is the thing, I've got I share an iTunes account with my girlfriend. Everything's in her name, except for the credit card, it's in my name. But we have probably 5 iOS devices between the Apple TVs and the iPads and her iPhone. It's all logged into the same account.
Yeah, my wife and I are going through this right now. We're trying to figure out, do we want to build a server with a NAS? And every solution we look at is just a mess. There's all these contingencies, and you can move the iTunes library, but then it won't sync to something else.
It sounds like they're trying to build a solution for that with these family accounts.
Finally.
You can have up to 6 people on a family account with the same credit card number. So you're all tied to the same credit card number. And in that, you create your family account. You can share all of your photos. You can share calendars. You can share apps, you can share all of your media, which is why the incentive is to have one account so you don't have to buy the same song twice. That's kind of an interesting concept.
No, it's a great concept, and it even extends it to the point where it'll ask permission of the credit card holder. So if your kid wants to buy something, it'll actually ask you on your device if that's okay.
Yeah, with a push notification.
Yeah.
So that you wherever you are, if your kid is trying to buy and download an app, you will get a little pop-up window that pops up that says, oh, do you want Jimmy to buy Angry Birds again? And you can say yes or no on your phone, and then that authorizes the purchase. It's like just a super common sense thing, but I think that really differentiates it from the Android universe, even the Windows Phone universe.
Well, that was also one of the things that they were falling down on, that this, I think, is a really good way to catch up, is, again, the idea of, well, you've got all your stuff in the cloud, but what about multiple people and all the media that you've purchased over the years?
Yeah.
If you've got more than one account, there's really no easy way of both people accessing it from the same device without signing in, without signing out.
Magazine subscriptions, you're going to want to share those all on one account. So they're sort of bypassing this problem. At the same time, they're getting more information by getting everyone in the family to log in and be able to track all those people separately too, and create different profiles.
And it's more revenue opportunities for them as well. I mean, it's a win-win.
So finally, they promised some Siri improvements. Siri was, I think, a tremendous innovation when it launched. Obviously not perfect. It's gotten better over the years, but they've made some improvements there that should make it, I think, even more compelling.
Sure. I mean, I think they can pan Google all they want during their keynote, but I'm pretty sure they're keeping a close eye on things like Google Now, which actually is better than Siri in a lot of ways. And I think they're seeing that and saying that they need to add some of the same functionality.
So you're not going to have to hit a button in order to use it. It'll be voice activated the same way Google Now is, which is kind of, that's sort of a no-brainer. Also, they added Shazam, song recognition, so you can recognize songs intuitively. It should be pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. I've always resisted just talking to my phone, and maybe I'm just a little old fogey that way, but some people really love it. I don't use Siri the way some people do. But
so we're going to download the apps, because we're going to get the developer accounts. We're going to start loading them up in the labs. What are you most excited about from today's news? What was the thing that leapt out that's like, you know what, I'm going to have to load that on my system or my phone in order to get this feature?
Well, I'm kind of an old school geek, so I'm dying to see the new OS, just because I always like to see the new OS. Yeah. That's separate.
Just because it's new.
Just because it's new.
Just because you can.
Yeah, exactly. But beyond that, I'm definitely going to want to try out some of the continuity stuff. Just because that's something that I think relates to a lot of people, including myself. We just all have multiple devices now. So it'll be nice to see how that works, and if you really can pick up what you're doing from one device to the next. I'm expecting it to be a little glitchy at first, but I'll be glad to be proven wrong.
Well, I mean, it's developer release now. They're going to beta test Yosemite.
So naturally be buggy to begin with.
They're going to beta test Yosemite, which is the first time they've done that. It's have an open beta to the public over the summer, and then have a new and then ship in the fall. Ship iOS 8 and ship Yosemite. Both will be free, which is another nice thing that Apple keeps doing, which is why they bring their user base along every time they release an update. So there's a ways to go to iron out the kinks.
Yeah, but they also keep hitting Android on that with the Android fragmentation. They keep every keynote now, it seems like they bring that up. And on the desktop side, I mean, Microsoft's one of its biggest revenue streams was new versions of Windows, and Apple just basically said, no, you can just have everything for free. Yeah. That kind of sets a first a great example for consumers, but also puts the pressure on Microsoft.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great. It's been a win all around for that.
Yeah, it'll be very cool. We're going to be breaking down the software, finding tips, figuring out new and hidden tricks. There is a lot to get to that we haven't gotten to on this broadcast. But you go to PCMag.com, read our explainers. Jamie, thanks for joining me for this Analyst View.
Thank you for having me.